Hey everyone. So, after my review of Carnosaur 2, I promised myself that I was gonna refrain from reviewing the third movie for some time for the sake of my own sanity and probably also for the sanity of everyone out there watching, but apparently I'm very, very bad at keeping promises. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Carnosaur III, Primal Species. Released in 1996, 2 years after its predecessor, Carnosaur III was the first of the franchise to go straight to video. Personally, I'm more amazed that the first two entries to this series even got theatrical releases, as this entire franchise really does feel like it was intended for a TV or straight to VHS release. But hey, crazier things have happened, I suppose. Originally titled Primal Species, this third movie actually wasn't intended to be a part of the Carnosaur franchise. However, after the first two movies managed to draw in a surprising amount of financial success, Roger Corman decided it would fit right at home with the rest of the series. Much like Carnosaur 2, Carnosaur 3 takes another very straightforward approach with its script. I mean, it's more or less the same movie as Carnosaur 2, only this time the protagonists are actual soldiers instead of engineers who act like soldiers. So I suppose in that regard, it's actually closer to being an Aliens ripoff than the Carnosaur movie that was legit trying to be an Aliens ripoff. After a long credit sequence that features shots of a military convoy along with one of the soldiers pissing directly at his fellow comrades, things really get crazy quite fast.
I gotta take a whiz.
This is the Army. We don't make stops for calls in nature.
Yeah, but I really gotta go.
Go lean it out the back then.
Thanks, Sarge. Hey, look at this.
Oh, what the hell was that?
This may come as a shock, given the quality of this film series so far, but we actually get a decent little action sequence here in which all the soldiers are either blown up or gunned down, even though it may come off a little comical at times. On the flip side, at least our bad guys have a very charismatic leader.
Hello. No!
No! Yes! So the guys who attacked the convoy are actually a Russian terrorist group that was after a truck full of uranium. Interesting that they decided to make the villains Russian. I mean, the Cold War had been over for quite some time now. But then again, Air Force One did come out a year after this movie, and that movie also featured Russian terrorists. So I suppose I can't rag too much on this film for doing it. We then cut to a squad of commandos who are on a mission attempting to rescue several hostages. But it turns out this is actually just a practice mission. Here we get to meet our colorful cast of characters for this movie. I wish I could say they're as much fun as the crew from Part 2, but honestly, most of them are pretty weightless and forgettable. We do get Rick Dean from Part 2 back, which is cool, and despite pretty much playing more or less the same character, he's easily the most entertaining part of this third film, which is way more than I can say for our lead here, Colonel Clint Eastwood, played by Scott Valentine. Hell, this guy has about as much personality as a freaking pencil.
No, sir, but actually, donkeys really aren't that dumb. They're pretty intelligent creatures. All you have to do is, take a look at their ears, sir. I mean, they can hear you from like a half a mile away, sir.
Shut up!
Yes, sir.
I want to know why the hell you're lumbering in here like something out of National Geographic.
Let's check back in with our old buddies, the Russians. After proving how evil he is to the audience by shooting this cop.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Oh, good morning, officer.
May I see your bill of lading?
Yes, of course. It's right here somewhere. Ah, here it is.
Our charismatic leader and his minions arrive at their destination, this old abandoned warehouse which is located right on the docks. They prepare to celebrate, but are in for a hell of a surprise when they discover that the semi they hijacked does not contain any uranium, but instead a couple of frozen rubber dinosaurs.
Dolan, what have you got in there?
Oh, damn it, no! No!
What is it?
You call this uranium?
I don't understand. My intelligence was from a high-ranking official.
Oh.
There must be some mistake.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake!
Yes, sir.
I asked for uranium and you give me fucking reptiles?
Dude, are you even going to acknowledge that you just discovered a truck full of real live dinosaurs? What is up with these Carnosaur movies and the characters barely even reacting to seeing a dinosaur? Like, act fucking surprised, goddammit. So all the bad guys get attacked by the camera and are brutally slaughtered by choppy editing. After discovering the corpse of the cop from earlier, the police find one of the Russians running away with his leg all cut up and limping, and hey, it's Michael McDonald again. So the police all congregate around the building, and after going inside, they soon discover the mutilated remains of the Russians along with the empty semi-truck. They hear a noise coming from another truck nearby, and wait a minute. Okay, time out. So, you're telling me that the dinosaurs killed the bad guys, then crawled into this truck, only to close and lock the door behind themselves? Also, how did they manage to squeeze what I can only assume is a full-grown Tyrannosaurus Rex along with 2 raptors in this one semi? And apparently, the T-Rex and Velociraptors are now allies, as both carnivores can be seen in one shot attacking this one cop. A short time after, our main characters finally arrive on the scene, and after uncovering the aftermath of the previous 2 attacks, find themselves in a maze of cardboard boxes. We get a little jump scare sequence.
Nice shooting, Tex. You just shot yourself a dead man.
Yeah, but I shot the shit out of him. See, I can write bad dialogue too.
Yeah, but I shot the shit out of you.
After a bit of poking around, we finally get our first attack scene that isn't either off-screen or filmed like it was edited by a fucking monkey.
Oh, shit! Get this thing off me!
Come over here and see this guy, man.
What's going on?
How was that? Like a lizard on steroids.
See, this is what happens when you buy your Aliens motion tracker from Dollar Tree. Our team falls back, and now it's time for some exposition. And strap yourselves in, folks, because this one's gonna be a little long-winded.
Carnosaurs. What the hell are you talking about?
Haven't you been paying attention here, bro? It's the name of a really shitty dinosaur series produced by Roger Corman that was meant to capitalize in on the success of Jurassic Park and... oh, okay, never mind. I mean, I can't blame him for being confused, though. The name of the series really doesn't make much sense either. Carnosaur is actually a name used for an extinct group of predatory dinosaurs that lived throughout the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. It is not a specific species of dinosaur. Ironically, all 3 dinosaurs, Velociraptor, Deinonychus, and Tyrannosaurus Rex featured in this series, do not belong in this particular group. I gotta say, it was awfully nice of the military to provide her with a PowerPoint presentation on the entire Carnosaur franchise, along with up-close pictures of all of the dinosaur species.
Carnosaurs are highly intelligent migratory predators. They have a superior night vision, and an acute sense of smell that can detect blood at 10 particles per million in the atmosphere. There are 2 males, velociraptors, and 1 female, Tyrannosaurus rex. The velociraptor can grow to 7 feet. I say she, but the T-Rex was genetically designed to be asexual. Born with eggs already fertilized, can outrun any living creature, with exception of cheetahs. Carnosaurs are attracted to movement, and they're extremely lethal when hunting in tandem. As you can see, they're well equipped to kill. They have bone-crushing mandibles.
Good lord, I feel like I'm back in high school with these two. As you could probably have predicted, the military wants a team to capture the dinosaurs so that they can study them. And of course, that's not going to sit well with Colonel Dirty Harry here. We get another brief shootout sequence after the Colonel finds himself face to face with one of the raptors. He shoots at it a bit, but it manages to evade the gunfire by sliding its slow, sluggish ass across the ground while being pulled. And is it just me, or is this raptor rocking a pair of platforms in this shot? After wrestling with the rubber dinosaur for a bit, some off-screen gunfire manages to scare off the raptor, and Colonel Clint finds himself face to face with more humans! Actually, this is a backup squad that was sent in by the general. So naturally, the best way to lure and trap a predatory dinosaur is with a slab of beef and a cast net. And if you predicted that this plan was going to go to shit almost immediately, then give yourself a pat on the back. Velociraptor uses slap to deflect bullets. It's not super effective. They manage to take down one of the raptors and bring it back to the lab they have on site to examine. However, it turns out this dino has zombie powers. Also, the T-Rex pops up randomly to bite this poor bastard's head off. Now this is where the film starts to lose me a little. So, it's never established how this happens, but somehow our characters, along with the dinosaurs, end up on a cargo boat now in the middle of the ocean. Funny, I thought we started out in a warehouse, but I guess the warehouse just morphed into a boat, and that's why we're here now. Fuck it, who cares at this point? It soon gets revealed that the T-Rex, which although female can apparently reproduce asexually, is seen building a nest where she has already laid her eggs. So after Homeboy here gets his face munched by one of the raptors, we get another shootout sequence with some janky-ass camera work and shitty lighting. I suppose for what it's worth, it's not too bad, but then again, this is a Carnosaur film, so you're really gonna have to ground your expectations here.
This, you motherfucker!
Hey, I'll give them this much. These guys are at least more competent than that containment team from Jurassic World.
Get your ass back here now!
So our remaining characters make it into the elevator, but a raptor chews on one of the cables, which causes the whole car to come crashing down to the bottom. And by crashing down to the bottom, I mean the cameraman literally just does this a bunch of times while everybody screams. After exiting the elevator, our characters come across a Tyrannosaurus nest, and despite being warned not to fuck with her eggs, as she is a highly territorial and aggressive carnivore, they decide to just open fire on the eggs and start blasting them to bits. Naturally, this pisses off Big Mama Dino quite a bit.
Get out of there!
Okay, it's not just me, right? They are literally ripping the T-Rex roar directly from Jurassic Park. So, in what is admittedly a pretty gnarly kill, although it is shot and edited with some of the jankiest camera work I have seen to date, Big Mama Rex bites off Polchek's arm. I guess even she hates shitty comic reliefs in horror movies. She munches him a few times and then finally decides to eat him. It's honestly really hard to tell what's even going on with this blurred camera motion that they have going on, but I think that's what's happening here. Damn it, Polchek, this is why we can't have nice things.
Jeez, wharf rats.
What rats? Okay, that is literally somebody's action figure. So the T-Rex that in the previous movie struggled to break through a metal cage on an elevator is somehow able to tear straight through the metal deck of this boat. So the female soldier gets grabbed by one of the velociraptors, and instead of opening fire immediately, the scientist lady, along with the colonel, stand there like a couple of dumbasses for about a full 30 seconds while she struggles. Of course, after it's ripped her head off, they finally decide to gun the bastards down. Thankfully, their combined gunfire is able to take down both of the prehistoric predators. Alright, so our characters wander back into the Rex nest where they come across this red light, which reminds me a lot of Aliens, and is probably why they decided to use it. Yeah. Remember, if your animatronic dinosaur looks like ass, just go ahead and try to hide it with a bunch of red lighting and janky camera work. So the Rex chases our characters for a little bit and they decide to take shelter in a couple of cargo containers. The Rex headbutts one of the containers in an effort to get at them, and the Colonel finally decides to actually do something competent here.
I'll take my death with the barbecue! Get back! Get in there! Get down!
So, by detonating this one stick of dynamite, the Colonel somehow manages to set off all of the bombs that were rigged on the cargo ship, which, of course, is basically just an excuse for us to have a giant-ass explosion that our characters run away from. Of course, this is a Roger Corman flick, so they use a shit ton of stock footage from the previous Carnosaur film, along with some original footage and some footage that is probably ripped from another Roger Corman movie. Also, despite having zero chemistry together, and this was never at any point established between these two characters, I guess the Colonel and the scientist lady are now in love with one another. I don't know, and I really don't care. I'm just happy to have this miserable-ass trilogy done with, finally. Oh, wait, what's that you say? Oh, we have a twist ending coming up? If by twist ending you mean a cheap sequel bait ending to a sequel that never happened. But wait, I thought there were more Carnosaur movies after this. Alright, that's a fair point, and I'll get to that in a second. But let me wrap up my review for Carnosaur III first. Alright, so what can I say about Carnosaur III? Well, I guess the biggest question we need to ask is, where does this film sit as far as its position in the overall Carnosaur trilogy? Quality-wise, I would say this one, while still better than the first movie, is definitely a significant step down from the second film. And the straight-to-video quality definitely does show in this film. I mean, for what it is, it's miles and miles better than any of the Asylum Pictures or Sci-Fi Channel originals that tried to emulate a similar formula when it comes to making a B-movie sci-fi creature feature. Again, the practical effects in this movie are cheap as fuck. They literally look like rubber suits and action figures that were used. But I'll still take this over the shitty CGI we see in movies like Dino Croc or Super Gator or any of those. At least with this movie, I can laugh at the silly effects, whereas this just makes my eyes bleed. We get some decent gore and some cool kills, even though they are horrifically shot and edited at times. Which, again, lends itself to this being a cheaply made direct-to-video film, and also a Roger Corman production at that. At the end of the day, the only reason anybody would ever watch any of these three films is to see cheap rubber dinosaurs rip apart people in a hilariously low-budget and gory fashion. The soldiers versus dinosaurs is a pretty neat concept, I will admit, although, once again, this is basically a ripoff of Aliens / Predator, although it is a little less shameless than Carnosaur II in that regard. However, it's more or less the same concept as the previous movie. This really is the movie's biggest downfall, as it kind of puts it in this category of mediocrity, where it's not horrible, but it is by no means good, even for this series. On top of shamelessly ripping sound effects straight from Jurassic Park, the movie also has a soundtrack that is very, very reminiscent of that used in Predator. This probably goes without saying, but if you're an epileptic, avoid this movie at all costs because there is an obnoxious amount of flashing lights and janky camera work. Honestly, at the end of the day, Carnosaur III has about as much to do with Carnosaur II as Carnosaur II does to do with Carnosaur I, so if you're looking for a consistent plotline at all here, you're not going to find it. I know it probably sounds like I hate this movie. I really don't, though. I mean, it is entertaining in parts, and it is actually watchable. It's not good, but I can sit down and watch it, unlike some of Corman's other flicks. But at the end of the day, it's just such a cheaply made and mediocre flick at best. Check it out if you're really that curious to see how this trilogy wraps up, but other than that, you can honestly skip this one. There are two more unofficial entries in the Carnosaur franchise. We have Raptor from 2001, which is basically 80% stock footage from the previous Carnosaur movies, with new actors and original footage inserted just to build a storyline around that. Weirdly enough, it stars Eric Roberts and is pretty much the worst of the series, although it was my introduction to the Carnosaur franchise, so I suppose it has that going for it, at least for me personally. Then there's the Eden formula, which is also known as Tyrannosaurus Rex, and stars Dee Wallace, yeah, E.T.'s mom, and again features a shit ton of stock footage from the previous Carnosaur movies with a newly used CGI T-Rex that is, God, just mind-numbingly terrible to look at. I mean, it makes your eyes freaking bleed. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this series. I mean, this franchise was never good from the get-go, but after this third movie, holy shit, it took a nosedive. Also, it was very nice of the American Dinosaur Association to let me know that no dinosaurs were hurt in this film. And if you're wondering if I'm going to review the 4th and 5th entries of this franchise, the answer is fuck no. Anyways, don't forget to check out my Patreon, guys, and my other social media. I will post a link in the description below. Make sure to check that out for early access and exclusive content. Until then, this has been Mark, aka The Movie Buffer. Ciao for now.